Smile, you're on Zoom camera. If you'd like to be a part of this recording, feel free to turn your camera off. Otherwise, you know what to do. Before we get into the intro tonight, hey, Ben's on. Hey, how's it going, Ben? Ooh, Ben has a nice camera. We need to talk about cameras sometime. Oh, we got two Kip Baumans now. What's going on with that? All right, so we've got our monthly Mike Driscoll Python pop quiz. We've gotten a few answers in the chat. As always, the question is, what will the output be of this code? Now we've got one line here. Apparently this is an earlier one. This is number 3, letter explosion. And let's see. Robert and Diane concur with B, CBA. Do we have any other guesses that people would like to wager before we jump into a REPL and see what's going on with this thing? Talk a little bit about what happens. Anyone, is it empty set C or BAC? No. I'm with Robert and Diane B. But let's switch screens and look at a REPL and play around with that one.
Mhm.
All right, can everyone see my terminal there?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of Python.
Yep.
Pretty sure that is close. And this looks like maybe I broke this or something.
Yeah, you need an extra quote there. Double quote.
Yeah.
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 There we
Okay.
go.
So B, CBA, wouldn't you know it?
Yeah.
EBA, very good. So anyone want to speak to this one? Otherwise, I think we could break this down into basically 3 different areas of interesting things going on. I think I'll start with
Okay,
this
so
one.
what's with the asterisk there, Woody?
The star operator, as it were. So does anyone not know what that is?
The splat.
It's a splat. Is that what it's called? That's cool.
Pretty sure that's what it's called. It's called the splat operator.
Yeah,
Uh,
so the easiest way to demonstrate this one is kind of in 2 parts. You can't exactly just put that one in as a whole. Uh, that's not a proper like command. But you can say, okay, whatever, strings equal to ABC, and then print the string in the
Mm-hmm.
same fashion. So you go star and then the string. And so what you should see is the star operator do its thing, which is takes an iterable and breaks it out
converts
into
it to a list.
constituent elements, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So now we've got A, B, C. So
No, excuse me. I don't think it's a list.
no,
It just
is it a
explodes
tuple?
it.
It's some sort of iterable, right?
Yeah.
Is it a list or is it a tuple?
I don't know. We could know this.
Ooh, good question.
Actually doesn't
Oh,
look
it's neither. It just
any
it's
of
just a
them.
generator which goes over the individual items within
Yep.
the iterable.
Oh,
Yep.
there we go. So it's a generator. But basically it's taking this chunk of a thing and chopping it up into all the little things inside. And so that's what we're getting out of the first part here is a generator, we're saying. The format thing, I think, is maybe the next thing to point to, which is it's a way of printing something while inserting values from existing variables. So these curly brace operators are saying take whatever in these particular positions of whatever we're passing it and dump that in there. So in this case, we've got that ABC, but we are passing it 2 first, so that's why we end up going backwards. So 2, 1, 0.
Hmm.
Good times, huh?
So Ben,
Um,
are you hypothesizing that it's a generator, or did you like learn that somewhere?
Yeah, I'm hypothesizing actually at this stage because it is quite interesting, isn't it, that it gets re no, 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 sorry. Yes, I am. I'm hypothesizing because I can't remember if I've learned it or not somewhere.
Okay.
I
So
think you can only use it in in um
like as parameters, right?
yeah, as a parameter. You can't like you can't use it in an expression. Like you can't say string two equals star string, for example.
Hmm.
So could you assign a variable equal to star string
No,
and then print the type of that?
no,
So,
it won't work. It'll give you the same error message.
all right.
But we'll do it anyway.
And you definitely can't use them inside a list comprehension or another
You
comprehension, can you?
can
Because
use
they,
them in
they throw
list
errors there.
comprehensions.
Hmm.
Okay. All right.
Oh, confusing.
Another fun quiz. Thanks, Mike. Swap screens here. Let me go back to the one that I was on. Yeah, that one. Share. Oh, there we go. Share has gotten busy. Little comedy break. Are you doing programming for fun? Yeah, I love being mentally challenged. Oh, glad you've come to terms with it. Thanks. Wait a minute.
There you go.
Oh no. All right, welcome everyone. It's
Hmm.
December 5th, the last meeting of the Sacramento Python user group for 2024. When we're back again next month, we're actually going to meet the second Thursday of the month because it's January 2nd, and well, we don't want to rush people too much into the new year. But December 5th, thanks to everyone who's made it. We are approaching 1,800 Pythonistas. I think we're actually at 87 or something like that just before we got in here, but whatever, close enough. Proud of every one of us. Josh Mills got us started February 2017. Robert and I took over January 2020. And these days it's brought us together a handful of times. Previously, I have presented from Trevor Foley's place in South Carolina, and tonight I'm here at Tanim's house. No, I mean Twinkle's house, actually. Uh, we're just Tanim's just living in it. Uh,
Yeah, pretty much.
yeah, we're not in the same room for audio reasons, but I'm upstairs. I'll probably pop in while he's presenting later. But it's been fun to hang out with Tanim and Twinkles. And it's kind of cool that this thing Josh got us started on brought us together. So thanks for having me,
Yeah.
Tanim and Twinkles. And yeah, everyone's been pretty cool. So no need to read the code of conduct. Let's keep our streak alive. The meeting format's pretty straightforward. Speak up if you got something to say. We like this to be a little bit more conversational. So, don't hold your questions till the end. Like the inline conversations and no question is too dumb. Well, there was that one time, but yeah. If you're feeling shy, either put your questions in the chat or raise your hand. Otherwise, just jump on in. But, when you're unmuted, please be mindful of airspace. No sound bombing, please. I'll mute you before I boot you, but I know the difference between a mistake and someone just trolling people, so you've been warned. All right, chat with us. Ooh, this time I wanted to remember to copy these links into the chat as we go along. So join us on the SacTech Slack. We are the hashtag SacPy channel. SacPy also has a strong representation in the Brazen Studios Discord. That's my company, the one that hosts all this stuff for me to make this all possible. And we are also on Twitter. Follow us on, or sorry, X or something. X is a question or solve for X or something like that. I don't really know how the marketing route works on that one. Also on Reddit, if anyone has any particular affinity for Reddit or is like, hey, I'm really good at Reddit, if that's like a thing, please let me know. I'm not. It'd be cool if SacPy was good at Reddit. We are also on LinkedIn, got a page. There's a page. We've also got a group.
All you have left is blue sky, right?
Yeah, apparently you can like host your own server or something like that. I don't know if anyone's feeling gung ho about that. Yeah, Blue Sky's an interesting one. The Fediverse is interesting to me. I don't see it being huge yet, but one day. And finally, this recording will end up on YouTube. Raisin Studios YouTube, but biggest playlist by far is the Python user group one. So that's it for our social media presence. Like and subscribe and all of that. And we're going to do a quick group photo. So now is the time for people who want to jump on their cameras to put on a silly hat or grab a colorful bird and try to look intelligent. All right. Oh, we got four now. Anyone else? Robert usually has like a hat or something. All right, we got Kip. How's it going, Kip?
I was
Oh,
not warned about this.
oh, hey, sorry, Darren. Well, yeah, I mean that's the point of the intro. You're not.
I look better
All
in
right.
my photo than my hair does right now. So
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Awesome. All right, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Okay, so let's get back to introing the rest of the evening. Thanks for participating, everyone. And this is the dramatic conclusion of a two-part series by Dr. Tanim Islam on his just the cool stuff he does with media. In particular,
Yeah.
he's got some pipes between Plex and Spotify. And so I'm going to hand the share off to him.
All right.
Thanks
Thanks,
for having me.
Woody. And
So,
I've gotta give props to Woody for really improving the audiovisual setup here with two lamps instead of one, moving, I guess, the whole arrangement by like 60 degrees. So the lighting's a lot better there too. And this thing I didn't even realize you could do is just put the webcam up on top of the on top of the monitor instead of just having it, hang out at the bottom, which is sort of well, if it's hanging out in the bottom, it's a lot easier to see my double chin. I'll give it that. So
yeah, it's the MySpace angle.
exactly. All right. And although I was debating whether to share that picture, but one of the doorknobs, luckily not any of the doorknobs to a door open to the outside, was sort of just loose and it looked like it was falling off. And I called Woody a wizard. He is a mechanical wizard. He just used that 3/32 Allen wrench,
Right.
fixed it. I loosened a little bit, then tightened it all together, and now it looks good as new. So I would have probably called a Allen wrench, right? Yes. Yes, this is why I would have called a handyman or a handy person at $400 an hour to
Yeah.
to fix that for me. Like, I think I would have called one if it was actually falling out of the hole. So props to Woody for all that. All right, if everybody's ready, I can begin my presentation. Let's share stuff. Start the share. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm going to share these two things. All right. So let's go to the beginning. Let's go to play the slideshow. Can everybody see the presentation here? The Spotify API for,
Yep.
in parentheses, parenthetically, practical fun part number 2.
Sure
Just
can.
what? Hello? The end? Oh,
We
you
can see
can?
it.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
great.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All
Yep.
right.
We can see it clearly. No Allen wrench is necessary.
No Allen wrench is necessary. So I'm going to repeat what I said in part 1. And similarly, this is going to be a slow moving, not a lot of moving parts presentation. But, I'll just repeat part 1, why Spotify. Plex is great when it works, but it's really hard to share Plex playlists. I think I tried it multiple times. And sometimes it works, but oftentimes, most of the times, it doesn't. And sometimes, this is occasional, the Plex server where all the music lives goes down. Then what do I do? So to solve this kind of esoteric problem, as well as, give people an idea of what music I listen to, I decided to hack away a little this past summer with the Spotify web API to update the metadata of my music that lives on my Plex server with their Spotify IDs, and then create and update the public Spotify playlists that mirror my Plex playlists. And like in the presentation that was shared, or that I shared last month and that Woody's sharing now with the links to that main Google Drive, there's the Howdy GitHub repo and the Howdy Sphinx pages, but more importantly, there's a copy, PowerPoint and PDF version of this presentation. So what do I mean by part two? Well, last month's, meetup, covered mainly the CLI demonstration of using the Spotify API. And for those of you who are here, it ended with my creating a Rolling Stones, public Spotify playlist, which is still up there. In contrast, because, I didn't want to overwhelm anybody and we ran out of time, and we went through a really interesting discussion on why do I, write out and read in pandas data frames in HDF5 format. This time, we'll go through maybe two, maybe even three Jupyter notebooks that, demonstrate in a completely shareable fashion, the functionality that I described last month, or, two bits of the functionality I described last month. And one of the cells in the second notebook can take up to 5 minutes to evaluate. So as an aside, I can give you guys a little taste of, the fact is we are using public in the cloud APIs, which we don't own, and that might have a practical problem, which I'll talk about specifically in my case. All right, with that, I guess we can go to it. The first one is this Jupyter notebook. I invite you to either, get the zip archive, I don't know if Woody shared it, or that Google Colab space called Demonstration 1, which is the public API, which is where we're going to find the Spotify ID of a song, given its song title, and artist using Spotify API. So at this point, let me see, does anybody have a question in the chat? Let's see. There was one. Oh, yeah, there we go. And here we go, demo number 1. And let me see if I can go to, in this case, you guys, I think it's easier for you to go to the Colab notebook if you want to try it out yourself, which is very similar to what I'm showing here. So there's this music standalone, which consists of some convenience methods that are yet completely shareable. In this case, let's just go to this cell. What I'm getting is actually getting the session token using my public Spotify credentials. This is accessing the anonymous public Spotify API to get this shareable token. Does everybody see this? I guess, I don't know. How long would you guys say this string is? Let me take a look.
Quite long.
It's
B36W.
Let's see how long it is. Hope I don't crash the Flask server. Let's see if it works. Uh-oh. Does it work for anybody else? I'm kind of curious.
So now you're saying you hope you don't crash the Flask. You're not connected to a Flask server right now, are you?
Actually, we are. I'm running a Flask server at in the machine upstairs. Actually, Woody is in the office the Flask server is actually on his lower left-hand side right now. I think,
Yeah, and
Woody, you can confirm
there's only
that.
minimal smoke
So yeah,
coming from it.
so from looking at this notebook, I'm wondering how do I know that it's connecting to a Flask server, and what is the URL of that Flask server?
Actually, you should look at that music stand underscore standalone bit of code. So this is basically the main Flask endpoint here. And this is the local view, basically the RESTful Flask endpoint to get the Spotify session. And this is just basic authentication, which will probably kill in the next few days. So there's code in the back end that actually, is the, code base in Howdy that just says, okay, query the local SQLite database that has my app, client ID and secret to get the, Spotify public API token. I think I touched a little bit on that last month, but this is sort of anonymizing or abstracting out that whole process. Well, as much as, sort of possible. And yet making this, both either the standalone, Jupyter notebook, as well as the thing on Google Colab shareable. All right, guys, ready to go, or has anybody gone ahead?
One more question. What is G down? Oh, like Google download or something?
Yeah, so GDown was basically my hack for solving an import issue. I presume you're looking at the collab link that I shared, demo one, Robert.
Right.
Yeah, so
This is
basically, yeah,
demonstration one, public API
Mm-hmm.
standalone. Um,
yeah, so
Yeah.
basically it's in a Google Drive and it doesn't treat a Google Drive the same as a traditional directory like on Linux or
right.
something. And so the solution for importing either, a file or a script or something like that is to point directly to the actual document itself in Google Drive.
Hmm.
And so GDown is pointing to the like Google Docs space unique identifier.
Yeah, I was wondering, yeah, I guess that identifier exists somewhere, or you can get the identifier of any file
Yep.
on Google Drive. Okay,
Yep.
that's pretty, yeah. See, I'm glad you asked the question, Robert, because it is not completely well documented thing, right? I had no idea Google Colab allowed that functionality, so it's pretty cool.
So that's like a magic function for Colab?
I I guess so. I mean, or maybe there's a gdown command that's visible in a Colab space, but only for Colab Jupyter
Right.
notebooks. I guess, yeah. That's my basic understanding of it.
Yeah. The other approach is to basically say like, all right, I want to use Google Drive as the local directory, but you can't do it relative to the notebook that you're in. And so it's confounding because basically from my drive, my like base drive to wherever is going to be totally different for you. So yeah, G down was the way to do it.
Yeah, so pretty cool. So ready to see the what I meant, like when I sort of kind of introduced this concept? So this is basically the just one of a few sorts of queries or basically calls to the Spotify RESTful API. In this case, using my session token for authorization and querying a song by the artist Air named All I Need from the album Moon Safari. And actually, probably the year is redundant because that's probably enough information right there. I give it, this is actually a song that I want. It's the US market, although that's done by default, and just pick the top 5 tracks from there. And lo and behold, this list of dictionaries, all that stuff. In fact, it has all this information in there, like, okay, I think, let me click on this, like, the actual album, cover, information on the artist. And it's interesting here, yes. Here's the actual, basically Spotify track ID, this thing here. And it'll be clear here, you see? Here's the track ID, this Spotify track blah, and mapping that as well as seeing the actual what is it the explicit actual URL. Here's what I mean by that, and that is the track right there. And this is sort of the workhorse functionality to take track IDs and create playlists out of them. All right, kind of, I guess it's interesting in some sense, but I think an important part, and Woody really helped do this for us, is create a Google Colab notebook that just anybody can try, at least for the next few days at least. All right. Any questions right now? Anything that I can go into in more detail if they want to? All right. Okay, I can go into the second notebook. So I guess you have the demo number 2, right? There we go. I'll just go to the notebook again here. Actually, all these extra, imports aren't really necessary, but it's only, Plex API and music standalone, and some bit of magic to basically deal with the fact that I'm making a lot of insecure SSL calls right now. But okay, see, in this case, this is yet another, call to a Flask server, this time to a different endpoint to get, this information, full URL and token. Let me just show you what I mean by that. This is the actual, fully unresolved or, IPv4 address of the Plex server with, port number open, and this is the session token, and it creates this object. From that, here are all the music playlists that I have here, or music and others, like Simpsons Christmas episodes and Simpsons Halloween episodes. And here's the one playlist that I have, that's I'm going to dump out into a pandas data frame that I showed only on my end last month. So I invite you to try this out. Hammer away at my server, and this will take, could take up to 5 minutes. And at this point, I can just go into a little bit of an aside on the fact that at least for me, this is pretty cool functionality that I'm using Google's APIs, I'm using Spotify's APIs, I'm even using, various movie, TV show, and in this case, music metadata servers. But the fundamental point that's not clear, especially when things just work for free, is that in the end, when I do all this stuff, I'm using a public in the cloud API whose functionality, whose access, and whose underlying data stored in a database I don't really own. And how that bit me most recently, most directly, was I think last August or maybe the end of July, I got an email, maybe an automated email from a YouTube API robot asking me, okay, I've got this, I guess, I don't know what you'd call it, maybe a Google Workspace or a Google API dashboard where I've set up access to, among other things, the YouTube API, the Contacts API, and some other scopes too. And so the YouTube Robot API said, okay, this is your Google API dashboard with some long name, and it looks like you are using the YouTube API. Can you fill out this form to explain exactly how you're using it, or to summarize how you're using it? So I did, and I thought that was the end of that. And then, of course, the robot followed up with another email saying, well, you know what? You've got 7 business days now to describe step by step exactly how you use the YouTube API. So I gave the YouTube API robot, I thought, an informative email demonstrating its functionality, where you use the YouTube API to choose a relevant song. Oh, cool! In this case, it was done quickly. So I'll go finish the story, and if any of you are trying and it's still running for you, I can continue it some more. Well, what I did was, okay, they said, actually, we can't read this WebM file that you sent us. Can you instead, you know, send it to another email address, put it on your Google Drive, and set up access to that file on Google Drive only to that email address? So I did. Oh, and also you still have 7 business days to, satisfy us. I did. 5 business days later, they said, okay, you're good, but we might change our mind, at which time, we might have to go through this process again. So, long story short, it works great until it doesn't. And it's just, if since these are APIs and services that you don't actually directly own, it's always a consideration. All right. Has anybody else tried this? Maybe they've gone ahead, or I could just show it here.
Show it, show it, show it.
All right. See? Okay, this playlist is created. Here's the last 20 that I got. Looks like oh yeah, I guess at work I was into this artist called Paloma Faith. Actually, this was a song, or I heard a song of hers at that postdoc event. When was it? Tuesday night. One of her songs. So I just had a little downtime at work. And I was like, okay, let's see which of her songs I want to put on the playlist. So it looks like I put in, I don't know, about 12 of their songs. The important point I want to make with the tail is this is a playlist that changes, at least once every few days as I add songs to it. All right. Can everybody still hear me right now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, just Twinkles decided to hop on top of it. Still good?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Come here, silly bird. Okay. Come on. All right. And the head, I guess this is functionality. I think, what is it? I think Cameron Riddle demonstrated this. Yeah, this represents, okay, the first 20 songs that I added onto it. Gosh, when did I put them in there? Huh. I guess The first one in the playlist is from 2018, although the first track that I actually added was probably Jamiroquai. Huh. All right. Okay. So, going through all this, here's the Stereolab playlist, which is, this HDF5 Pandas data frame, as well as an Excel spreadsheet, which I guess this is just an earlier version of it. But yeah, this is, that spreadsheet, just an Excel version of that Pandas data frame. Bye-bye, Deanne. And I guess one last thing, we can go to the third one. It's very short, don't worry about it. Is this third demo is, in this case doesn't even require anything externally. Here's that data frame again. Here's that playlist, just the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, first 5, 6 songs, I guess, song name, artist title. And I guess to confirm, at least for me, let's see if, ooh, wow. Huh. I guess the first 6 correspond to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 songs on here, or in some order, I should say. I think the point, an essential bit of the functionality of saying creating this playlist was the Spotify API isn't 100%. It either finds a song or it doesn't. Sometimes it takes a few iterations. So there's a purification, process. I think by default I use 5 to find, to be very sure that Spotify has found all the songs it's able to find. So that was just a little bit of that. And that's it in a nutshell. That's pretty much all I have to talk about this week.
What do you mean by a purification process?
I think I mentioned last month that the process by which it actually searches for songs like on the Plex playlist. If it finds the metadata, the Spotify ID, it says, okay, that's fine. Add it to the list it wants to synchronize with Spotify, or rather, replace the list of songs on Plex with that on Spotify. However, if it doesn't find that song, it first goes through all the songs that it couldn't identify, and just does a query, similar to what I showed you in the first Jupyter notebook. And if it doesn't find one, it just stops. Okay, so maybe it's able to find, originally there was 100 unknown songs. It found 70 of them, and added the metadata. Then it says, okay, there's 30 left, right? I'm just giving a relatively contrived example, but like demonstrating the not 100% of the Spotify API. What I often find is then, okay, another search run through the Spotify API, this time of the 30 songs it couldn't find, would not in this case say, oh, there's 0 songs it could find. It did 100% or the best it could. It could be anywhere from 5 to 10 Spotify IDs that it finds. And that's why, I have a purification process. It's not just the one and done search to update the playlist. By default, it goes through that process 5 times before, stopping. And
I was kind of looking at the first spreadsheet while you mentioned something about Google giving you a 5-day notice.
It was a 7 business day notice.
Sorry,
yes.
So that's for using the YouTube API?
Yeah. As in, why am I using the YouTube API?
So
Specifically. Yes.
so
Yeah.
I found something strange. I found that in an old there's a YT yeah, YT DLP, right?
There's
YouTube.
that's a different API, or rather different functionality. But
Yeah,
yes.
a different package. And the one that I installed a while back still works. But when I
Mhm.
do a fresh installation of it, I get an error where it says like, okay, you need a cookie in order for this to work.
Oh, so you just basically did pip install upgrade YTDLP or YouTube DL.
So yeah, I put in it, and it has nothing to do with using like the latest version. The very latest version still complains about it needs a cookie. So this seems to be due to a policy change, right?
Well, YTDLP plays an arms race with YouTube and some other video services. That's most of, I think, their development is to get ahead of the curve so that it remains functional. So it has to be, at least in my experience, we can have a conversation now or offline about getting it working again for your use cases. But yes, I found personally, if I keep it stale for something like 3-4 months, YTDLP stops working, and I can check just by using the command line front end to it, that Python executable, which suddenly has messages like either need a cookie, error message, or oftentimes the download speed is heavily throttled. So yeah,
Hmm.
but yes, YTDLP is an essential part of that tool that I demonstrated by video to the YouTube API robot or its authorized agents.
Interesting. Um,
Yes. Public, yeah, YTDLP or YouTube DL is a very useful tool, but
yeah,
they're like us. They use a public in the cloud API that they don't own/control. So,
right. Yeah, I could tell that it's an arms race, but the irony is that the my older copy works fine,
yeah,
but newer copies run into this problem.
I don't know. Maybe it's a virtual machine thing too. I'm not sure. I not having seen your specific case, it sounds like we just have to go command by command and
Right.
browse by browse just to see, or query by query, search by search, just some sort of pair programming interaction to see what exactly might be happening in your specific instance. I don't
Very
know. It
good.
might even be an operating system dependent issue too, as in,
I think it's because uh, the older copy is on the machine that has an actual browser with cookies, and
oh, are
the
you trying to
one
download a song, or YouTube clip using your actual account, like not a public YouTube video, sort of one you paid for?
you mean no, this is well it's it's various types of YouTube videos, right? So it's
Mhm.
not like it's one that is gated to require payment, right?
Okay, all right.
It's just it's like a regular obscure song. So
Actually, you could probably just directly message me the link and I can see if it works/doesn't work for me.
yeah. Yeah, they'll be good.
Yeah,
Um
but yeah. it's I think Woody saw a demonstration of, the actual executable as howdy underscore music underscore songs. And when I showed it to him, it worked pretty well at that time. At least for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got have to try it on a different machine that
Hmm.
also has a browser with cookies on it. And if it just magically works then that's
Huh.
the missing ingredient.
Yeah, I think you should send me the link to see if I can reproduce it because, I'm running basically Howdy Music songs on my Plex server, which is, a Linux SSH server. It's
Uh-huh.
basically logging in and it's completely headless, as in it doesn't even have an X server running or X client running on it, something like or X server. I can never figure out the correct nomenclature for that. It doesn't have a
Right.
desktop environment, even running there. So it's a server at that point. And
Cool.
no concept of a browser as far as I can tell, uh, on that Linux machine. All
Yeah, there should
right.
be a way to do it with a headless browser as well.
Yeah, but yeah, feel free if you want to. You can send me the URL and I can send you basically the command line dump or standard out dump of what YTDLP did for me on that URL.
Cool.
Thanks,
Well,
Tanim.
the crowd is dwindling. Another great presentation. Thanks for bringing things to a conclusion. I think we can probably call it there for this one
Hmm.
and for 2024. See you guys and gals in January the 9th, I believe. So.
Good
Uh,
night.
Night.